Welcome to the Credit Union Sales and Marketing Podcast. Your hosts, Bill McKenna, Paul Robert, and special guests discuss ideas for creating alignment in your sales and marketing efforts and ways to accelerate growth. Now let's get started.
Hey, good morning, Bill. We have to be on our best behavior today because we got a guest with us. So try to be a little bit more professional than we normally are. But in addition to that, I'm talking to two guys that may need therapy today because of, your beloved Yankees didn't quite get it done.
Listen, hey, just to make it clear here, you know about me, diehard New York Giants fan. I sort of like the Yankees, but honestly, I'm a Phillies fan. So I moved to Pennsylvania, a long time ago and raised my son playing sports. So I've adapted to all the Philly teams, except not a big fan of the Eagles. So anyone who's listening that's an Eagles fan, I'm sorry. But and you should not feel bad because you've been kicking our butts for 10 years straight. So that having said that, so yes, the Yankees, it was a great series. I mean, LA just really showed what they had. They brought it. They brought their A game, and the Yankees just weren't hitting the ball.
Yeah. It's amazing how you go 6 months, 7 months, and you're clicking on all 8 cylinders, and then man, you just like run into a wall sometimes. And you credit that to pitching, but I don't know. It seems like the baseball gods were not in their favor. Charles, you're somewhat of a Yankees fan, at least, right? You have to be, probably in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, definitely a Yankee fan. My growing up, I saw a lot of family members as Mets fan, and I learned that was not the way forward. So I decided to become a Yankees fan, and it's worked out for me. It was pretty tough watch. Last week, and I guess always terrible to watch another team celebrate in your stadium.
Yeah,
but, good game nonetheless. Yeah. Congratulations to the Dodgers. It was a good win.
Charles and I have known each other for 4 or 5 years now, maybe even longer than that. But yeah. Charles Schembri, EVP Chief Experience Officer at Suffolk Credit Union. You guys are in Medford, New York, which is right smack in the middle of Long Island, isn't it? I mean, it's geographically, you got it covered right there, don't you?
Yeah. We are about almost at $2 billion. We've got 10 branch locations on Long Island. We've recently expanded our charter from just Suffolk County into Nassau County. So now we have remit across the entire island. Nice. We are doing a lot of great stuff. Excited to be here with you guys.
Great to have you.
Yeah, awesome. Charles is talking to us from his oceanfront mansion in the Hamptons, right?
I rented.
We're going to be walking.
We got to move.
Yeah, you were going
to. I got to get out of here.
Disguised as the gardener or the landscaper, right?
Right.
Hey, thanks for joining us. In all sincerity, I know we have a lot of fun and hope to have some fun over the next few minutes here, but also talk about your credit union and what you guys are doing in terms of realizing success. Bill, they went through a rebranding experience a year or so ago, and I know you've steered credit unions through that from time to time. So it's an interesting process, isn't it, Bill?
It definitely is, yeah. And I'm excited to learn more about what that looked like, Charles. Having worked with lots of credit unions going through the process of name changes, rebranding, culture, and Paul and I have worked together on multiple clients. So why don't you guys talk about a little bit what that looked like and tell us give us some details.
Yeah, so it's almost 2 years to the day. We rebranded in November of 2022. It was November 14th. We had gone through a pretty rigorous process of just really trying to understand if this is something that we wanted to undertake. We actually had to do a lot of research and figure out, what our legacy meant to the communities that we serve, to our membership. Our CEO joined Suffolk about 4.5 years ago, and really saw some potential in the business. And I joined a little bit after her, and we've been looking at ways to grow this business and to ensure that we have the strength and the wherewithal to continue to thrive in a marketplace that has a tremendous amount of competitors.
Right.
When we went down the rebrand path, it was really a moment to kind of reflect on where we had come from over the past 55 years and really understand who we wanted to be in the future. So a lot of back and forth, a lot of involvement with our board and our executive team, and our entire staff really was involved from start to finish in that process, which is really critical in order to get it
so
right.
true. And we talk about that a lot. Paul, so you worked with them on as part of this as well. So what was your involvement, and what was the process you used to help to create some of that branding?
Well, we took what they created, Charles and the team, and identified what of the brand the employees need to live day in and day out. How do they substantiate this brand? How does that impact the way that they interact with members on a regular basis? How does it impact how they interact with each other on a regular basis? So, Charles, I think that was a really powerful process to walk through and really talk about what the core values mean to them and what the tagline means to them and so forth. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, this was as much of a rebrand for our employees and our members, right? We wanted to take a path forward that really was meaningful for everybody and sort of use 3 pillars in order to go through that process that helped along, right? So we landed on, we kept our name. So we were Suffolk Federal Credit Union. We are now operating as Suffolk Credit Union. So not a big name change there, but everything around the name really changed drastically. The 3 pillars we chose of our brand are real easy, real valued, and real respectful. Clearly 3 key themes that can be used both inward and outward. And that's kind of how we wanted to make sure we were communicating with our members and communicating with our employees in the exact same manner.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And I'm looking at your website here, and I looked at it before we talked, of course, and, it's discover a place that's designed to say yes, and then to say yes, they're real easy, they're real valued, and real respectful. It looks like those pillars you've created. So you worked on those pillars, and how are they resonating with your employees now? So, and Paul, that's something you work with them on. I'm assuming you work with them to dig deeper into those and how they deliver those day to day. Would that be correct?
Yeah, tie behaviors to it. So, Charles, how are they doing with that? How are they living those core values?
Yeah, we have tried to ingrain those core values into everything we do, right? The way we speak, our nomenclature, the way that we present ourselves, the culture of the organization has really been leveraging those 3 pillars in our day to day. And to say that everything is perfect, I think that would be a mistake, right? We definitely have had our share of moments where we've had to recenter, refocus, and pivot. But I will tell you that the organization is really bought in to who we are. Our logo is sort of a representation of who we are, which is people helping people, right? And you kind of have to stare at it a little bit to get that, but it is really important in who we are that we're representing ourselves not only with our logo, but the way we look, the way we present ourselves, the way we speak to our members. And it's a constant process, right? We can't, we didn't launch brand and then kind of walk away and said, all right, we did that, let's move on to the next thing. This is an iterative process that we know will take, forever, really, to kind of carry it out and make sure that our employees and our members understand who we are and what we're all about. Yeah,
that's interesting because looking at your logo, I didn't know that, of course. Paul worked directly, so I'm sure he knew it. But now you explain that as a visual graphics guy that, that's at the heart of a lot of what I've done over the years. I can see this now, the people helping people, the hands connected and that's interesting because a lot of times with the graphics, like we talk about visual branding. Sometimes the visual branding, the colors, the logos, people talk about rebranding and they're stuck on the visual branding, even these beautiful new branches. But what they've forgotten behind the scenes is it's so much more than visual. But I really love that you guys worked on that too, to create that graphic, to create that, that people helping people concept, which is the foundation of this credit union industry. So it's a good job.
Yeah, we have an incredible team. I mean, like I said earlier, this was not done at one level of the organization with one team. This was done with everybody from, a personal banker that's an entry-level individual to the CEO. And we made sure that everybody's voice was heard. We made sure that everybody's thoughts, ideas were a part of building who we are. And we do that every day, right? It's not just for that process. It's for carrying the business forward and figuring out how we can stay relevant and grow.
Here's just a quick shout out to our sponsor, ironistic.com. Hey, in today's world, everyone knows the importance of having a great website and having an integrated digital marketing plan. If your credit union, community bank, or any other company is looking for that help, I can highly recommend ironistic.com. Check them out.
Hey, you used the term earlier, soul searching, and I made note of that because it is a process that requires you, if you do it right, it requires you to really dig deep, doesn't it? And figure out, who are we? Yeah. What do we want to become in the future? Why is it important, etc.? Talk to us a little bit about that soul searching piece of it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that in order for us to ensure that we weren't upsetting our members and that we could stay relevant, we needed to make sure we really got honest about who we are and what we do and how we do it. So, even picking something as simple as a color, right? You want to make sure that you're not offending people, that you're also creating a cue that when everybody sees a color, they think of your brand, right? So it's our goal to make sure that purple is Suffolk and that we own it, right? And I think the soul searching part is really with every intricate detail of who we are as a brand and the representation visually, or how we meet and greet and engage with our members, that we got it right, and that we were at least charting the path forward and laying the groundwork for all those iterations to come, right? Even just as recently as last week, we've had some discussions. Do we need to kind of continue to iterate on our brand, right? Where do we do that? So there's been a lot of soul searching through this process, and admittedly, there are some things we could do differently. But we're so proud of what we created, and we're really proud of the work that we've done with our team and with FI Strategies to really bring everyone along.
Yeah, it's very impressive.
Yeah. Hey, Bill, look at the purple and how much that is on the website there and so forth. And you don't see purple very often in financial services. So I love that you guys went in that direction. And there's a cool story behind that, isn't there, Charles?
Yeah, I mean, when you go through this process of rebranding, clearly you want to make sure you're working with the best and brightest in the process. And the research I had alluded to earlier, we went through a process, who owns what color, right? I cut my teeth in financial services and research and data, and we really went through a pretty rigorous process. Who owns red? Who owns blue? Who owns green? Who owns this? And we really set out to be thoughtful about that process. And the purple was not owned by anybody locally, and especially the color that we've chosen. So it's definitely something that's popping up more and more in some competitor ads. And, you're hoping for no misattribution there, but the meaning behind purple is also sort of a royalty aspect to it. So we own it, and I never thought I'd love purple as much as I do, but
it's a good color.
Now I've got purple sneakers and purple hats and purple shirts and all that stuff. And we are definitely purple people.
When we did the training, we dressed in purple as much as we could, and I think we stopped short of the purple pants, Charles, but everything else in the room was purple. So
fair.
We love purple, that's for sure. But I think, Bill, and chime in on this, because you talked about owning that color. That makes you stand out with the non-members too, right? The members you're trying to attract, the community. So the color has a value to the existing members, but it also has a value when you talk about attracting
Yeah,
new
you
ones.
definitely associate colors with different brands. It's one of the first things you see. So, yeah, using a color effectively. Charles, I'd like to ask you a couple of questions about that. So, when you worked to create this new visual piece of the brand, which I'm sure included obviously the logo and the graphics and all the things you're doing now, the web, branches, I would assume there's some updates and some branches that were made as well. Did you do that yourself? Did you work with a partner to do that, an outside firm? How was that done?
Yeah, so we worked with a lot of different partners throughout this process, right? We have a team of about 200, and those 200 people are, a mighty force. But we had to bring in third parties to help us throughout the process. Every single thing that we touch on a daily basis is needed to be rebranded, right? We had to go through each branch and look at the envelopes, the stamps, the paintings on the wall, the color of the furniture, the color of the chairs, everything really needed to be re-examined and understood. Where did that fit in the grand scheme of our brand? The signage on the outside, the lights, all the colors of everything really needed to be reimagined. So, our marketing team really did an incredible job of ensuring that no stone was unturned. And also everybody who else was a part of the process, the whole branding committee, which, was a cross-functional group across the organization, made sure that every partner, every third party, every, business process was reimagined looking at the new
you
brand.
work together as a group, which sounds, and I know I've been through it. There's a lot of moving pieces. Did you decide when you were doing this was going to be a phased introduction, or was this like a pull the sheet off one day and everything's changed? I know it takes a while no matter what you do. So how did you figure out the timeline? And then the other question would be, a lot of people start thinking about branding. They go budget. Oh my gosh, this is going to cost a lot of money. So how'd you go about that process?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with the budget piece. This was not something we decided to do overnight. We knew we needed to do this. We planned in advance. We were really proactive about the conversations in advance to make sure that this was a part of our 2022 plan. So had a concerted effort across the organization to make sure all of that was planned for appropriately. But in terms of the rollout, we called it Momentum Monday. And that was the 14th of November in 2022. We sort of had the move that bus type of an effect. Everything was swapped out and turned into the new Suffolk Credit Union branding over the weekend. So, whether it was myself or other members of the executive team or personal bankers or even our facilities group who did an incredible job, getting all of our physical spaces to look properly. We really did pull the sheet, and overnight things were done. It was a bear of a task. We pulled it off, and we did so in a really big way.
It's very exciting, yeah. And I can build that kind of momentum. Happens to be one of your themes, momentum. That kind of momentum into the new brand is really exciting. Paul, what were some of the takeaways that you had while you were working along with them through that whole process?
Well, you talked earlier Charles, about involving the staff from the outset. And I think that's the thing that stands out in my mind is you can't change a brand from the top down. It really has to be an organic process, or at least if you want to do it like you described effectively and quickly, you've got to make it an organic process. I can't imagine going through it without having the buy-in and already having gotten the perspective of your people. So you guys did a really good job at that, didn't you?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, look, again, it is a group effort. We had a launch party for this rebrand, and I can't tell you how good it was to sit in a room full of our peers and reintroduce who Suffolk Credit Union was as a culmination of all the hard work that everybody in that room did, whether directly or indirectly, to make that happen. We walked away from that launch as a really strong and united team and organization. It felt good. It really did. And look, you go through hiccups and you go through challenges, and some things got done or weren't done last minute. But man, I mean, everything came together, and it was it was really fascinating. I'm so proud to be a part of this process with this team. It's been great.
Yeah, and we got a few more minutes, and just before we wrap up here today, and so thanks so much, Charles, for your time today. This has been great. So, what have you seen since that launch? What have you seen as far as the momentum that you're building? Are you seeing the community be excited about it? Have you seen some growth statistically and with some numbers that you're doing? Tell us a little bit about what you've seen since that launch.
Yeah, we are seeing a lot of benefits from all of the rebrand that we did, but it's not just the rebrand, right? So since our CEO joined and since some of the other newer leaders joined the organization, we have really flipped things on their head in a really good way, right? We like to describe it as, we bought this really beautiful house. It looked great on the outside. And, you go in the rooms and you start to renovate and you find the mold and you got to get it out of there real quick. And, you're renovating room by room. And we really have changed system after system in a way that we've tried to minimize reductions in growth. We've really tried to perform throughout that process. We've grown our membership base in a big way. We're at about 80,000 members. When I started, we were closer to about 65,000 members about 4 years ago. Our assets have grown from 1.3 to now we're about 1.9 billion. And the areas we operate are changing, right? So we're now entering into different business lines, which have been exciting for the team and for the organization to help continue that growth and that momentum.
Yeah.
And we're getting involved in the community in a big way, right? We've dedicated resources to corporate and community partnerships that have taken off. We've got some great people focused on, building deep relationships to really live out that people helping people motto of our credit union and right in the logo of our brand.
Yeah, very cool.
And Bill, if you don't follow Suffolk and or Charles on social media, you need to, because you guys are always posting things about what you're doing. I love seeing it, and it's amazing how many things you're actually involved in with your communities. So keep it up. Hey, you talked about deepening relationships, Charles. We've grown members, we've brought new ones in, but I know that's a particular focus for you as you look to the future. We can't just get them in the door. We got to deepen the relationship with them so that we keep them in the door, so to speak. Yeah. Talk to us about your efforts there and what your focus is there.
Yeah, so I when we were talking about the rebrand, I talked a lot about data, and a critical part of our ability to grow the organization lends itself back to the data conversation, and we really need to know who we're serving, how we're serving them, and where there are gaps. And I think that's where we are focused right now, is trying to get a better handle on how we can expand our relationships with our existing members. How do we do that with the right tact, with the right conversations, with the right products at the right time? And there's a concerted effort across the organization, front lines, back office, to really understand how do we improve our product set, how do we differentiate the tools and resources we're giving our members so that we can have those conversations, right? It's important for us to be able to grow and stay relevant. And, one product here or there isn't going to help us do that.
No, and matter of fact, boy, you're talking my language right now, because one of the biggest misses I see these days in the industry is silo data. Silo data is like living in the land of missed opportunity. You don't have the data if it's not available, if it's not actionable, if you're not dashboard, if you're not able to see what it's doing, it's very difficult to move the needle or know what's moving the needle. So that's a whole separate podcast someday, but I'll tell you what, it's a critical discussion. When I spent time at American Heritage, which is in Philadelphia, when I was there, they're about 2.3 billion, and now they're almost 6 billion. But, we started a journey of understanding data, and we picked a partner and chose a partner after looking at tons of them. Again, another podcast. But what a difference it makes when you're able to align your data and actually move the needle, get into some automated marketing, get into things that really make a big difference. So it's great. But hey, guys, we're just about out of time. Any follow-up comments, snide remarks that you'd like to make about anything before we finish up here?
Well, Charles, let me ask you, if you're talking to, and you probably are talking to, fellow credit union execs who are thinking about, maybe embarking on a rebrand or, a culture shift of some sort related to that. Any words of wisdom you might share? Any best practices come to mind that you'd want to make sure that they focused on?
Yeah, I think where we saw the most success was when we leveraged data, right? Actionable insights really help you make sure that you're not making change for the sake of making change, that you're doing it purposefully and with good intent. I think that's the first place that you got to start if you're even thinking about this process. The other thing I would say is, you don't want to do this too often, right? So you want to make sure you get it right, and you want to make sure you bring people along, right? I think that's one of the things that we've done as an organization, and it is critically important, not only in just a rebrand, but any strategic change or initiative that you have that's going to impact all of your employees, all of your members, and really set you out to be different in the market. Those are definitely the key areas. And I think it's just learn how you want to differentiate yourself for the future, right? It's not just about, if you're rebranding now, it's not just about the now, it's about, will this stand the test of time? And I think that's a critical element of laying the foundation and strategy and implementation for the future.
Yeah, I love it. All right, Bill, let's let Charles off.
Yeah, so guys, hey, I really appreciate the time today. Great conversation and such an important topic, too. There isn't a credit union, I don't think, anywhere, no matter where they are in their journey, that doesn't think about this, because they're always thinking about, what opportunities are there, which ones are we missing? So this is a very relevant conversation. Charles, I really appreciate your time today. It sounds like you guys have done a wonderful job. And Paul, as always, it's good to talk to you again. And let's plan on getting Charles back on sometime in the future. Maybe we could talk more about some of the data pieces down the road sometime.